Hello everybody, this is Mike from Nymphs, Knots, and Nonsense, and today we're going to be learning how to tie these wonderful little micro-leech patterns. They're a fluorescent orange jig beadhead micro-leech using the dubbing brushes that we created in another video. These are the dubbing brushes that I created using the Fly Tires Dungeon Leech Dubbing in Castle Black. Just this phenomenally awesome color with black, but also little traces of reflective red, blue, silver, maybe a couple other colors in there. Really, really nice and has a lot of variety, makes a really good leech. As far as materials go, I have a couple different types of hooks that I'll use. So a Hanak 400BL or a Fulling Mill FM50 45. They're roughly the same, maybe a little bit thicker wire on one versus the other. But they're a 45-degree jig hook, barbless in a black finish. I'm also using the Fly Fish Food anchor beads slotted, obviously for a jig hook. In this case, I use a fluorescent orange 2.5 millimeter, which is the right size for, say, a size 12, size 14, size 16 micro-leech. And then lastly, I've got 70 Denier, black Uni-Thread, and some black bamboo. We start by taking a bead and our hook. In this case, I'm using a size 12, and you pass the tip of the hook through the small hole in the bead and pass it around. What that does is when you have it all the way up, the small part of the bead or the small hole in the bead fits right up against the eye, and that slot allows that bend in the hook to go right through it. All relatively normal. Now I'm just going to take that, stick it in my vise, take my 70 Denier black thread, just start a little bit here. It doesn't take a lot. All I want to do is make sure that that bead doesn't jiggle. Not a huge test. Bring that back, trim off my excess thread. Nothing major there. Get about halfway down the hook, and I'm just going to grab a little bit of Marabou, here. Pull that. Grab it. Clump the ends here. You'll have the scraggly bit. Don't worry too much about it. Lay it down on the shank. Give it a couple wraps. Tie off the scraggly ends. Or excuse me. Cut off the scraggly ends. Throw that off to the side. And then just tie that. Tie that down. Take it all the way back to the bend of the hook. I'll put a couple wraps in there, like 4 or 5. Go back to roughly center on the hook. For these dubbing brushes, when you first make the dubbing brush, through the process of twisting them on the cyclone twister, you'll have a little bit of twisted wire here at the end. What I want to do is take that and cut it off and leave maybe a 1/4 of an inch, basically a little bit, so I can tie it off here and I'm not wasting the fibers. All right, so you see that, and I will take it and comb it back with my fingers a little bit, place that here on the hook, and just tie it in. Now, one of the guys who was a longtime tyer, when I was teaching people how to do this, he asked if you had to do anything to make the wire less slick. Hasn't been my experience that the wire is slick at all, simply because it has those twists in there. It allows the thread to bite into it, right? When you tie brassies or something like that, sometimes I'll take needle nose pliers and just give it a lengthwise crimp on the wire so that the tying thread can bite into it and hold it, and it won't slide out the bottom when you start wrapping it. But with these brushes, not a big deal. They're pretty easy to tie in and they don't slip because they've got fiber, they've got twists in the wire. I've yet to have one of these things pull on me. Okay, that's not an invitation for it to do it today. Now, I'm going to go ahead and tack that down right over the bend of the hook. Easy stuff. Bring my thread up to the front. Give it a little half hitch. Flip my bobbin cradle out. Set my thread there on top of that. If it'll behave. Set the thread on top of the bobbin. holder or bobbin rest. And now I'm going to get rotary with this. So just wrap it over. And when you wrap this on, you don't have to make it like chenille where each row is right next to the one before it. You can space these out because really a good leech is kind of a loosey, it's sort of a loosey pattern, right? You want it to sort of flow because as they swim through the water, they're really sort of random the way that they swim. And so you don't want to have a lot of material in there to actually make it fat because you're going to have to pull some of it out. Now what I do is I'll split the hair a little bit because I don't want it to be trapped when I start to tie over the top of it. And I'll just tie it in there. Make 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Usually 5, sometimes 6. Don't worry too much about it. I've got my wire cutters here. Just reach in and cut the wire. Okay. Now, most of the time when you do this, you have a little stub of the wire that's poking out. I just take my fingernail and just push it down with my fingernail. Okay. Easy stuff. Now, take your fingers and I make a little triangle here with my fingers and I pull all the material back. Okay. Then hold it down and wrap right next to the head or right next to that bead to make a little head. Back again. This is usually the part where I poke my finger and I swear, but I won't do that today apparently. Hopefully I didn't jinx myself. Throw in a half hitch, okay, snug that in, and then do the patented Michael Smith 1, 2, 3 whip finish with the hand. If you have a tool, it's okay. I won't think you're weak. Use the tool. I just learned how to tie without a whip finisher because I was poor. And so I don't actually know how to use a whip finisher today. I have to reverse engineer the process. Now I have the Loon Fluorescent UV Clear Fly Finish. It glows when it's hit with UV light. And I'll show you. It also cures when it's hit with UV light. And I have the tip here. I just add a couple drops, maybe, into the slot there of the bead and hit it with my UV light. You'll actually see that orange bead there? It really glows when you hit it with UV light. It is fluorescent orange, and that's what fluorescent orange means, right? Is that it will glow when it hits sunlight, and that's why it's so effective when you use it underwater. Okay, that's cured. Life is good, and I have just a couple more steps here. I have this thing, which is a dubbing teaser. The wood is from Wasatch Fly Tools, but it's a bore brush. If you have a rifle or a pistol, you've seen these before. I was in the Army for a long time. It looks to me like an M6 bore brush, but what I want to do is just take it and tease the extra fiber where I trapped it. Okay. Then I'm going to rake it to the back. Okay. One thing to notice here is sometimes when you wrap the dubbing wire or the dubbing brush, you'll get some twisties right in here along the bottom of the hook. If you get that, feel free to take your scissors. If I can grab them. Feel free to take your scissors, slide your scissors in there, and just cut that loop open. Now we're looking pretty good. We got just a couple things here. One is I'll take the hair, and if your hair is long, like this has long fibers, right? Turn it to the side so you can see it. So I'll take the fibers, pull them all sort of down with my fingers. So you pull them down like this, past the tip of the hook, and then I'll just take my scissors, hold them, and just sort of give them a clip just a little bit longer than the tip of the hook. Now I've got these extra fibers. I will take these and dump them back into the bag and recycle them and use them for the next dubbing brush. Now I got this crazy leech looking thing. I will give it a little bit more brushing to the back. Make all the fibers sort of run to the back a little bit better. And then I'll take this Marabou, grab it with my fingers about that length and just rip it off. Sometimes if you get some of these fibers, especially these tinsel fibers, there's like this like shiny mylar looking stuff in there. Sometimes it'll make it harder to pull the Marabou off. So you might have to do it in little clumps, or if you put a lot of Marabou in there, you'll have to do it in clumps to get it to break off. But that is my finished fly, and I'll give it to you in the round. As always, thanks for watching. Like and subscribe, share with your friends, make comments, and I will see you in the next video.